I don't see anything fixing the state of the financial system right now, just because there's been so much printing. Like, you can lower the 10-year interest rate, but to what end, right? It's going to come back later. And you see this in the yen too. There were a number of interventions last year, and what did those interventions accomplish? Not that much. It went down and then it went back up to 150 to the dollar. So I just don't see it helping. Even the Department of Government Efficiency, I don't see that helping either. You're cost cutting, but the fact is you're sitting on $36 trillion of debt. Letting it roll over at a lower interest rate doesn't really help much in the long run, because you're missing something. And I think the only way out of it is to switch to Bitcoin, to rebase to Bitcoin, and phase out the old system as gradually as possible.
What would that look like, rebasing to Bitcoin? Are you suggesting an actual, like a full backing? So not just a strategic reserve, but actually tying it similar to how gold was pre-1971?
Yeah, basically rebasing is saying you can redeem $1 for 1 Satoshi, and that's it. I mean, you already can do that with gold, right? Like, you just have to make that further jump forward that Bitcoin is digital gold, and I can now peg the dollar to Bitcoin too, right? I think that's ultimately where we're going, but to make it palatable, I believe there have to be shorter, smaller steps taken, like the executive order that says we're creating the reserve, but in a budget neutral manner. Because right now everyone's freaking out about the economy and government spending. It's not very good if they say we're going to go and spend Bitcoin and spend money and buy Bitcoin. And then you create the actual strategic reserve, which means you have to have congressional approval. And we're seeing that. Like, Cynthia Lummis presented at the Bitcoin for America event, and you have bipartisan support. We're seeing that it could come to pass, but it does need congressional approval, which is sort of a litmus test for broader public approval. So if that does happen, then the US will start to buy in serious amounts. And I think once you have a serious amount of Bitcoin, then you can, well, not a Bitcoiner, we would say rebase right away. But as a politician that has to deal with normal people, you can say, okay, now we have a war chest of Bitcoin, and we'll allow you to redeem against it at a certain rate.
Do you view this moment with the executive order, at least, like, yes, it's somewhat limited in its scope in terms of, as you correctly said, it has to be budget neutral acquisition, but saying, look, we're not going to dispose of any of it. We're not going to sell any of it. The digital asset stockpile gets a different treatment. Nothing is added to it. They can dispose of it. But for the Bitcoin one, I mean, does this mark sort of like a starting gun moment, an inflection point moment where, I mean, this is the United States of America. Like, it is the biggest, superpower in the world. It's the biggest kid at the playground. Is this what kind of tips off everyone else that, we really need to stop ignoring this? Like, maybe we're not fully going down that path yet, but we need to pay attention because something's clearly going on here. Like, what's Trump doing? Is this that moment?
I think for some, yes, and for some, no. So it's a mixed bag. Again, like, a lot of people, a lot of politicians and presidents, they don't really know yet. And again, what they don't know is compounded by the fact that they don't know what the implications are.
Amidst a backdrop of uncertainty and risk, the unexpected announcement from none other than the U.S. President Donald Trump has ignited a frenzy like never before. The decision to halt tariffs for 90 days has not only rejuvenated the equity markets, but has also triggered a monumental surge in the crypto markets, propelling select tokens to soar up to an incredible 45% in just 24 hours. Welcome back to Investocracy Crypto.
And then you have some that probably clue in and say, okay, this is a big change. But if you're measuring general sentiment on X, I think it's also divided too. Like, there are people outspoken that say it's a nothing burger, it doesn't change anything. And then you have people in my camp, or in your camp maybe, that say, yeah, it changes everything, because it really is that starting gun. It's not like we're going to buy 1 million Bitcoin tomorrow, but this opens the door to that. And I think a lot of people kind of expect it's going to happen at the snap of your finger, that it all happens at once. But that's really not the case. You have to have a progress of steps that you go that lead people down that path. And this is that starting gun that begins that whole process.
Just in your opinion, you've obviously thought about nation state adoption a lot. This is what Gen 3 is doing, is trying to accelerate hyper-Bitcoinization through nation state adoption, and also through bottom-up approaches like Aqua, your wallet, which I'd love to get into a bit later. But from your perspective, was this executive order, like, were you happy with the way it was structured? Did you look at this and say, like pleasantly surprised, disappointed? What was your kind of just gut reaction to it when it came out?
I was very happy. Like, my take is that we got exactly what we wanted and also what was promised, right? So we have two buckets. You have the strategic Bitcoin reserve and then the crypto stockpile. And as you said, it's not to be added to, but to be sold off potentially. So there's not much more we can ask for, right? There is a clear separation between Bitcoin and everything else. And also there's now the, what is it, the Genius Act, the stablecoin regulations that are coming that will further structure how the market views these different buckets and deals with them. You know, we were at the point where we thought we were going to get a crypto reserve. And I actually spent some time thinking about, you know, if Trump wanted a crypto reserve, how could we structure the rules in a way that we don't get a bucket of garbage? And what I came down to was it has to be proof of work. And with additional requirements like dominance and hashing function, time existing, and a number of other factors. But that was the best I could do to create some structure whereby you wouldn't have Ripple and a million meme coins in a crypto reserve.
Amidst all the chaos and excitement, one can't help but crack a smile at the roller coaster ride that is the stock market. It's like a game of chess played by millionaires, with each move making or breaking fortunes in the blink of an eye. As the giants like Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Dogecoin dance to the tunes of news and announcements, investors hang on every word, hoping to catch the next big wave.
It's better that we just said it's Bitcoin and then everything else, because that is the holy grail of nation-state adoption, that it's Bitcoin only.
Yeah, I mean, I was very pleasantly surprised to see that. Just after Trump's initial posts on Truth Social saying, you know, ADA, Sol, XRP, and then later he followed up with, and Bitcoin and Ethereum. I love those two. I was just thinking, oh boy, you know, this, come on, here we go. But this was a clear demarcation. I think that was key. I know a lot of people have the thought that, well, you know, even Bitcoiners, I mean, like within our own microcosm, the government shouldn't be involved in Bitcoin at all. We shouldn't be cheering this on. I'd love to get your thoughts on that. Is this something that, like, is that even the right question of should or should not the government, or is this just a matter of inevitability? Like, how do you process this? How do you speak to those Bitcoiners who are saying, you know, this isn't what I signed up for when I got into Bitcoin?
Bitcoin adoption is a matter of inevitability. And if Bitcoin became valuable, you can kind of expect that everyone will want it, right? It's not like Bitcoin's going to become a multi-trillion-dollar asset and just, you know, Walker, you and I transact it, you know, to pay for cheeseburgers. The governments are going to want it. Everyone's going to want it. And you have to be okay with the fact that whatever is money is going to be wanted by the government. That's like a tale as old as time, right? If not Bitcoin, it would have been something else. But if it became valuable, the government will want it, because that's what they do. They take money from you and they redistribute it to various things. So I think you just have to be okay and understand that the separation of money and state is not that you bankrupt the state. I think it's good to reduce the size of the government, because everything's way out of whack right now and the government is far too powerful, right? Like, everything can be weaponized against you as an individual. And I don't think people fully understand that. But separation of money and state is the separation of controlling money and dictating monetary policy from the state. And that is exactly what we're getting with Bitcoin, right? If they create the strategic Bitcoin reserve, and if they launch Bitcoin bonds or Bit bonds, what they're calling them now, that is basically saying, you know, money is money and government is something separate.
But beyond the thrill and adrenaline of the markets lies a world governed by data, numbers, and analysis. The surge in the crypto market after Trump's tariff break isn't just a stroke of luck. With Bitcoin hitting $83,541 and soaring 10% in just a day, it's clear that the winds of change are blowing strong in the financial world. But before going any further, if you made it this far into the video, thank you. These videos take a lot of effort and time to make, so if you enjoyed them, please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. This goes a long way in helping us grow. That said, back to the video.
What we're doing, I think, is the right move. We're engaging with the government to help them formulate better Bitcoin strategies, better Bitcoin policies, to understand Bitcoin more fully so that they can become more like us. They can become more cypherpunk and more interested in monetary history and personal freedom and sovereignty and all those good things. So I think you have to be okay with it. And it's sort of a pipe dream to think we'll have Bitcoin become a major asset in the world and a very valuable multi-trillion-dollar asset class, and the governments are never going to touch it.
I mean, it's literally like the first they ignore you, then they laugh at you, then they fight you, then you win type situation. Like this, to me, this is what Bitcoin winning looks like. It's what Bitcoin's success looks like. If it was a failure, the government wouldn't care about it, but it's not a failure. So they do care about it. To me, it's exactly as you said. This is the natural progression of where it was going to go, right? We can not like it, but we kind of need to accept that this was going to happen if Bitcoin was winning.
As the dust settles on these whirlwind developments, one can't help but wonder about the potential locked within the crypto market. The road ahead seems paved with opportunities, with Bitcoin's rally to $100,000 becoming a distinct possibility. With support at $80,000 and a major resistance at $88,600, the journey ahead seems both exciting and promising. So, dear viewer, as you navigate through the complexities of the financial world, consider this. The time for investing may be now. And finally, if you would like to know more about cryptocurrencies or specifically Bitcoin, go ahead and click on the next video on your screen. See you there.